This is Crosstown Slam, and today I have a good personal friend of mine, Mr. John Hutchinson, and he's here to talk to you about an upcoming event. It's the 7th annual Save Our Youth Rally, and it's sponsored by the Midtown Church of Christ and Pastor Danielle Howard. This event is vital to the city of Muncie, and this year Mr. Hutchinson has been chosen to host it. If you could, Mr. Hutchinson, I'd like for you to give us a brief overview of what we can expect this year.
We're basically just trying to give hope to the kids, because I realized that this is actually something that I wish I had when I was in school. Of course, when I was back in that, when I was in school, junior high, high school, I thought I knew it all just like the kids do nowadays.
Right.
So what first thing I try to get them to understand is, if you want to get somewhere, ask somebody who's been there. You can't ask a 5th grader what it's like to graduate to go to high school, but you can ask a junior in high school what it was like to make that transition.
Good point.
So if you're asking your friends and your peers how to be successful, if they're not there yet, they're not going to be able to tell you. They can speculate, but they're not going to be able to tell you.
I once read a quote. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
Oh, come on in.
But I read a quote one time where a man said, he asked somebody a question, and the guy answered the question. He said, well, how do you know that? And he said, well, since we was little, our ancestors, our fathers, our parents have told us so. He said, if you believe what another man tells you, then you don't really know, you simply guess.
Exactly.
Faith is the substance of things hoped for.
Hope and faith, like I said, it is synonymous. I would like to kind of illustrate why there's no hope here in Muncie. Because there is no hope. There's hope within some individuals, but as far as the city as one, as the way it used to be when I was growing up, that is no longer here. Most of the neighborhoods, Crosstown and Whiteley, that we primarily grew up in were mainly fed off of Chevrolet money and Warner Gear money. You got to understand, when people talk about those were the good old days, I definitely don't want to take anything from that, because those were great days, especially compared to now. But consider this: all the money that was flowing in from those plants, which were sweat of your brow work. There's not, I'm just quickly guesstimating maybe 3-4 generations that was bought up on that money, off the sweat of somebody's back and the hard years or hard work that they put in at those plants for years.
That hard manual labor
work. Exactly. So it's kind of difficult when you see success, and which that was considered success. Families were raised, kids were put through school. That was success in relation to how Muncie has developed. That was success. But what we haven't seen is Muncie as a whole being successful through education. That was success through occupation. So now that those have been snatched out from under our feet,
and which they always will.
Exactly.
Because those occupation successes, they look for the next best dollar, where they can pay people the least and get the most work out of
production. Exactly.
So they'll always be moving away from towns.
Especially when they get established. Because once you get established, consider any field, even pro athletes. Their first year, they're going to get so much money, but once they build their reputation and their name is built up, they're going to ask for more money, and they're going to get it. It's the same thing with workers here in the United States, not just Muncie. We expect a certain amount of pay for our work, the sweat off our backs. So what happens is, these giant companies, they see the ability to still be able to produce and do what they do, but now they have a whole crop of people who are willing to do it for a fraction of the pay. Thank you, sir. Of the pay that we asked for. We do quality work, we ask for quality pay. But they don't necessarily see it that way if they can get a group of people, namely across seas, other less profitable countries or less developed countries, and they'll gobble that up, and they will do that work diligently for a fraction of the pay. So where does that leave us? My point is, when the plants closed down, we needed something to feed us. We needed something to feed our hope. We're looking at our kids, wondering how they're going to survive, how they're going to eat. Now, I remember the neighborhoods, particularly just to consider Crosstown over by the park, over around 9th Street.
In that 9th and Hackley area.
Yes, sir.
that's my namesake.
Now remember, think back, Slim. When we used to walk those blocks,
yeah,
all those houses were nice houses.
Man.
It might be one house like every block or every 2 blocks. You look at, man, if that house was fixed up, man, this would be a bomb neighborhood. Now it's the polar opposite, because that money has been choked off from our neighborhoods. So what we need to see is Muncie successful through education as opposed to just occupation. These three or four generations that I spoke of, all they've seen is occupational success. They've not seen educational success. So it's an uphill battle to get these kids to fully embrace the idea that education is their way out.
I made a statement yesterday on my Facebook, www.crosstownslim. No, I'm just kidding. I made a statement yesterday on my Facebook that I wonder how many of our children are going to grow up, man, and end up in the streets and in trouble and whatnot. And I said it's scary because we don't see many examples of anything else.
Exactly.
Besides 40-year-old men, 30-year-old men, all of the adults, we see them doing the same thing the kids are doing, smoking blunts and playing video games and drinking beer, sitting up and cracking jokes all day. And my point, I said we got to find a way to make education and God, and I'm not ashamed to say that, God, you know, we've got to find a way to make those things attractive to these kids. You know, and do you have any ideas on possible? Okay, then let's get right to this youth rally. That's what we're talking about right now.
Yes, sir.
What would this rally do for those 2 aspects, education and God?
What I am most proud of that we do, every year around this time, you get companies, you get establishments, whatever the group may be, have their own version of back to school something or other, where they basically, for like businesses, is for tax write-offs and advertisement. Just throw pencil and paper at the kids. Those will be gone. What are you going to do once those pencil and paper are gone? You understand what I'm saying? So they've accomplished their goal because they'll get their tax write-off. They'll get their advertisement when such and such company has a school giveaway.
Okay.
What I would prefer they do was what we're trying to do, what we've been doing for 7 years now. Instead of throwing pencil and paper at the kids, give them hope. Let them understand that there's more than just pencil and paper that they're facing.
They're lacking.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. We try to give them hope. And as I was speaking earlier, consider if you have a grandparent, their generation, you have a parent, their generation, and you have the kid, the current generation. If none of them has personally seen success, it's almost the same as telling them if you flap your arms hard enough, you can really fly. They're not going to believe that because they've not seen that.
That's right.
So it's almost the same as telling them you can fly if you flap your arms hard enough. That's exactly
tell them that
education is the key to success. It's almost the same statement to them because they have not seen it, they've not witnessed it, and they don't have the hope because they've not witnessed it. I used to shy away from all the accolades and the things that I've accomplished because it sounded like they were heaping all these accomplishments on me. But I don't do that, and you're in a good position because I've just kind of made this revelation. I'm no longer going to play those down because it's not me that they're celebrating. It's God.
That's right.
Because I couldn't do it.
That's right.
I'm going to tell you, if I relied on myself, I tell you, it got so hard at one point in the nuclear program. I was in the library studying, and I saw housekeeping, cleaning the library. I got so frustrated, it got so hard to me at one point that I wanted to stop them and ask them, how much do they pay?
Man, that ain't funny. I'm not laughing.
It's an opener. It's an eye opener.
Wow.
I wanted to ask them, how much do they pay you? So I maybe do the calculations to see if I could live off of that because it was that difficult. So imagine all the tests that I had to pass with a certain GPA, and now look where I'm at now. It had to happen. So if I just depended on myself, I would have given up.
You would be a custodian right now.
Exactly. I might be a little young, so you might want to ask your uncles and and all them about Smoke Room Studios. Anybody that knows anything about the underground scene here in Muncie, anybody that was any good at one point or another to come through the Smoke Room. I used to do production. I even did a few flows. You know.
Jam man.
Yeah. I did my thing back in the day, you know, but I, like everybody else, I got sidetracked by the lure of fast money. So there was some time between Smoke Room and my road to success, I say. To bring you up to where I am now, like I said, Crosstown.
For life.
A block from the curb, you know, Wolf Street howling all day. But I realized from watching people how to be successful and how not to be a failure. You can learn from both.
What to do and what not to do.
Exactly. And they're both important. But again, I say I don't brag on myself. I'm bragging on God because He's what made it possible. So yes, I was inducted to the National Society of Collegiate Scholars, 3.78 GPA. I was selected as an ambassador to represent the collegiate body of the United States. First black man to graduate the Ball State Nuclear Medicine Program.
What is nuclear medicine? Could you break that down for us, for the layman, just in terms that we understand?
Nuclear medicine deals with diagnostics, deals with some cancer treatments and diagnostics. Kind of analogous, to break it all the way down, if you consider Bayer. Bayer has aspirin for a headache. The same company has aspirin for backache.
Okay.
The painkiller is the same in both. But what happens is every different system of the body has different receptors for different pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
So what they'll do is they'll attach, or what they call chelate, the painkiller to the pharmaceutical that are received in the receptors in the head or in the back in case of the back pain.
So it's like I'm gonna put it in basketball terms. It's like the job of a point guard as opposed to the job of a center. They're on the same team, but the coach has to determine which player is best suited for which position.
Sometimes they've already been diagnosed. Sometimes they'll utilize the information that we provide to diagnose.
Okay.
We're the actual
gatherer.
Yeah, we get the information. We utilize the tracers, the radioactive tracers, to get the information.
Let me ask you a question. How, and I'm going to ask Pastor Howard the same question, but how did you come up as a candidate for hosting this 7th annual Save Our Youth Rally, Midtown Church of Christ?
Well, this is, like I said, this is the 7th year. The first year I was in Indianapolis in the didactic portion of the nuclear program, so I wasn't involved.
Okay.
Like I said, I tried to do one before I got started, and it was pretty much just me trying to give the kids information and empower them and let them see how important education was.
Right.
But when I came back, they had it going. I think maybe it was the 2nd or 3rd that I was invited as a speaker on a panel of speakers.
Okay.
At that point is when he realized my passion to try to save the kids of my hometown. So from that point, he slowly put me in charge of it, put me over it.
Okay.
It's not. Somebody said to me one time, "I never thought you would be an activist," and I'm like, it struck me weird because I don't really see, I don't really see myself as an activist. I see and consider myself somebody that just cares.
Man.
You know, imagine.
But let me stop you though. For somebody who just cares, who just sits around and cares, I'm seeing the major difference between the activist and someone who just cares is action.
Action.
You take action. Definitely fitting.
I don't shun the title. It just hit me differently because somebody put a title to just how I was feeling.
What you do naturally.
Exactly.
I understand.
So, I mean, I don't shun the title. I don't think it's a negative title at all. It just kind of caught me off guard when he said that. Because I'm just basically trying to do what I wish I had when I was growing up.
And that's what it boils down to.
Basically. So, I mean, I want the kids to know that I'm from these same streets. I did the same dirt. I just was a little wiser that I didn't get caught. I think it would be counteractive to share my lessons in that aspect because people would think that, okay, I could be successful in that.
Right.
And that's definitely the wrong way.
Exactly.
It's definitely the wrong way to go.
I notice you keep coming back to God.
I'll tell you why. And sometimes kids that were brought up in the church are in a very dangerous situation because in your youth you don't realize that you don't have to be perfect to be a Christian. You understand? So if you're a young person and you're seeing somebody who might be the preacher, who might get up every Sunday and tell people this is how you're supposed to do it, this is the way God desires you to live, and then they go home, they're still human. These kids don't understand fully, and I didn't fully understand the concept of grace and mercy. I didn't fully understand that you can't get yourself together first and then try to serve God.
Good point, man.
If you could get yourself together without God, you wouldn't need God.
Good
You
point,
understand?
brother.
So all the people that I've seen in that position, now that I know better, I've had to forgive them basically for being human. Because in my eyes, they were hypocrites.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't want people to think that you have to be perfect in order to serve God.
That's right.